Oh, Canon. You tickle my undercarriage, Canon. Once you were a great innovator, I heard. They invented bread. The 5D Mark II came out, and all of a sudden you could shoot full-frame video, and people were like, what have you done to us, Canon? Oh my god. Then they came out with the 5D Mark III, upgraded from the II in every way imaginable. They were just looking down at the people, the village. Just, here, have a crumb of bread. Feast on our glorious technology, young ones. And then they sat back. I was already leaning back. They were on top of the world, and then they got comfortable, and I think they took it for granted that people just loved Canon. They were like the most popular. Nikon was... Nikon. What are you guys doing over there? Why don't you just make those party blower things? You'd fuck that up too. Fast forward to the year 2032, and Canon still leading the way. They're still selling, even though their specs are crippled. Like a 90-year-old's arthritis, flare-ups when it rains. Oh god. They're still leading the way. People love Canon. They just want them to succeed. They keep buying their products, and even though they're like a crippled brother who's wearing a Christmas sweater in June, you want them to do well. So while compared to the competition, Canon may not lead in any specific area spec-wise, they have the usability factor, and they have some good features. Had some good features. They'd be dropping balls over here.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So picture this Canon EOS R right now compared to the competition. You got your Sony A7 III, your Nikon Z-Loser 7, future Panasonic's coming out, APS-C from Fuji, GH5 bringing it up the rear with their tiny little micro. If you compare Canon to these other companies, their 4K is softer and cropped in more. Their 1080p, not as fast. They're at 60p still instead of 120 frames per second. Their color science was leading the way, but Sony's catching up now. Panasonic's looks great. Fuji's, actually I don't like Fuji's color. Everybody is praising Fuji for their colors, and all the reviews I'm seeing, it's just like dark and grungy in this weird contrasty loser style. I hate you, Fuji. You want a mic jack in your camera so you can use a lav mic with a windscreen indoors? Canon has the fuzziest preamps you've ever heard. They're hissing like a snake. It's like every time I make a Canon video, I look for the snake in my room. I never find one, but there is one here. Obviously, I can hear it. Would you like your footage to be stable? That's a good question. In-body stabilization helps with that. How you doing? Stable, are we? A little bit. Not you, Canon. So if cameras came down to spec sheets and you put them side by side, you'd be looking at Canon like they're not even competing right now. And they're usually a little bit more expensive. So how do they do it? They've got to have something. What do they have? I'll tell you what they have. They have two things. These are the only two reasons anybody would buy a Canon camera for video, in my opinion. One, the usability factor. Just Canon makes it easy. Everything they do, I don't know why other companies don't do. They have a flip-out screen. We haven't talked about this yet on the channel, but having a flip-out screen is kind of nice to see yourself. Oh, I am in frame. Cool. There aren't cats chewing up my couch right now. I don't have to turn around. On a Canon camera, you tap your face to focus, it focuses on you, and you can move away, and it will follow you. It follows you wherever you go, and that is enjoyable. It's easy to use, it's just so easy. Canon is kind of like that book series for dummies, cameras for dummies. You buy these books when you don't know what you're doing, but even an idiot could learn from this book. So that's their main advantage. Canon cameras are in easy mode. Even a dyslexic troglodyte could use one. What is that? Troglodyte is a person who lived in a cave. It fits. Sometimes words just come to me and I just say them. I don't even know what the hell they mean. And then that fit. Sometimes they fit. I'm smart enough. But Canon messed up. Canon blew it. They blew their main advantage, usability, easy factor. I don't know what happened, But in the Canon EOS R, pretty much the main reason anybody buys a Canon camera, two physical reasons. Besides the usability, these count as usability. It's the flip out screen and the dual pixel autofocus. From what I'm seeing, they messed this up. This is no longer Canon dual pixel autofocus. It doesn't track you good. It gets confused. It's like contrast almost. It's like a Panasonic camera. In fact, with the Panasonic firmware updates, they may have surpassed and Canon devolved back into their troglodyte ancestors. What happened? Like, I'm not even hating on Canon. I was thinking of buying it. I want to upgrade to a camera. We got a camera to test right now. We're testing a new camera. Can you even believe this right now? Guess what this is? Post your thoughts down below. What camera? What lens? Can you guess? So far I'm loving this camera, and now I'm looking at the EOS R in a different light. What did you guys do? You dropped it. You had one advantage over all the other companies, and you messed it up. How did you do it? Like, you already knew how to do it. You had it, dual pixel. It was still better than Sony's. It was better than Fuji's. More reliable, smoother. Just like my skin after a dip in the ocean, avoiding jellyfish, of course. I can do that now. I see them. I'm on to you. I just got done watching DP Review's review of the EOS R, and my man, Jordan. I love that guy. I love the whole team. Chris and Jordan, they gotta be one of my favorite teams out there in the camera world. And Jordan is a very capable videographer. Is that 2 words? Videographer. The guy knows what he's doing, and he filmed that whole episode on the Canon R, and somehow the footage managed to come out looking like a troglodyte ancestor filmed it. Can you overuse a word that you just learned? I'll sneak it in 2 more times if I can. If Jordan wanted to, he could have produced a flawless episode with manual focus, getting a gimbal, but he wanted to test the camera's capabilities, so he was using autofocus and face tracking like a regular, non-troglodyte human being would use. And, oh, there's one. The autofocus struggled to follow, even in simple situations, like the face was right there, and then it was like, the tree? Do you want the tree? And no. Yeah, sorry. We're new here. We're troglodytes. The footage was soft. The 4K looked like 720p. We're filming in 1080p right now. It looks crisper than any 4K I've ever seen in my life. The stabilization was a joke. The digital stabilization, it looked so amateur, like you're drunk at a wedding. Not a wedding, like a backyard wedding in your uncle's house. There's a pool in there. It's got leaves and shit. Your grandma's sitting in the pool eating chips. And when he used the enhanced digital stabilization, it was so soft that like people were lining up to get ice cream from the camera. Is this a soft serve ice cream station? Oh no, that's a camera? Oh. Oh, do you know where the truck is? I heard the music. So here's the deal. Canon has just lost the only advantage they had. Their autofocus now sucks and is unreliable. Why would anybody buy into their new mirrorless system? We have to wait now till their next system, which is years. People want a camera now. Every couple years, usually they upgrade. I bought my Panasonic G85, I think 2 years ago, roughly. It's time for an upgrade. And I'm looking now away from Canon. The writing's been on the wall for years. I mean, Canon has continued to cripple their cameras to protect their cinema line. And I will say this. I just watched a live stream with Caleb and some guy who was using a Canon C200. Doesn't matter who it was, it's the camera that matters. And it looked so phenomenal. I was like, oh my god, that Canon C200. Just the dynamic range on it, the calmness of the footage. Next to Caleb, who usually has amazing looking footage, it looked like he was shooting on a smartphone or something. And I think he was using the Sony A7iii. Maybe he was using the Canon R. Who knows? He has it. He might have been. But it looked terrible compared to this guy. I was like, holy shit. Canon does the cinema line right, but who wants that? It's too big. We're too lazy now as a culture. We don't have the muscles to carry it. We don't want it. We want a little tiny camera. Give us all the features of your cinema camera. Bankrupt yourself for our pleasure, please. So look into the future. I don't see Canon doing anything. They've been crippling for years. They continue to do it. And technically, I don't think they even have the technology to compete. It's not even that they cripple intentionally. I will say this. They put out a polished product usually, except this Canon R. I just contradicted myself. But usually it's like they won't put in a feature if it doesn't work perfectly. So there's a reason they're cropping that 4K, because they can't get it to work in a full frame sensor in that size of a body. It's too hot. They can't do the IBIS. It's too hot. They need to move to Alaska to build those things. So Canon's in a weird position right now where they can't even beat their own technology. They can't even match themselves. Their shadow selves can shadow box their ass, and they lose. They bleed from the nose. My battery ran out. Cool feature on that camera, when it stops recording, it's silent, so you don't know that you've stopped recording. So that's a handy feature to have. You don't know when you left off. That's cool. So I'm just gonna let Canon sit on the back burner in my mind and wait for other more exciting companies to actually put forth some effort and produce some equipment that I may purchase one day. We look forward to the A7S III and the A7000. We'll see what they have and say hello to the train. So if I were you, I'd probably cancel that Canon R pre-order. You're not even gonna get the same thing you were expecting in the 80D. Like, it's not even gonna be as good autofocus as that. So I would maybe skip a couple generations and see what else is out there coming soon. So I'm just disappointed, embarrassed, scared. I'm just scared, really. So that's it. I think we're done here. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos. I'll see you in the next one.